Welcome to Regensburg, Germany, in the center of Bavaria. It started out as a Roman legion camp about 2,000 years ago and eventually became the Manhattan of the Middle Ages because of its tall buildings and narrow streets. It would eventually become a mega city, becoming the center of Europe for 150 years. It's considered one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Let's go check it out. The city was probably spared from heavy damage during World War II because the Allies were more focused on destroying the Messerschmitt factory, which was also in Regensburg. The Messerschmitt factory built aircraft for the Germans. With its uniquely large, well-preserved historic center, Regensburg was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List in 2006. The gate systems from the Roman era was replaced by a medieval city wall in the 14th century. This east gate is considered one of the most beautiful city gates in Germany. The city sits on the banks of the Danube. If it were sunny, these pastel-colored houses really pop and really define the beauty of the city. Even during cloudy days like this one, it's still clear why Regensburg is such a crowd pleaser. Another fascinating part about the architecture here are the towers, like this one called the Golden Tower. It dates back to the 13th century and was built by rich merchants as a show of their wealth. At one time, there were 60 of them here. We are on the stone bridge. It was built between 1135 and 1147, and for 800 years, it was the only reliable crossing over the Danube here in Regensburg. It served as a major international route between Northern Europe and Venice. Construction of the bridge took a mere 11 years and became a model for other stone bridges in Europe, including the London Bridge and the Charles Bridge in Prague. The bridge originally had 3 towers, but only the gate tower has survived and dates back to 1300. Here on the stone bridge, there's a story about this guy behind me. He was the bridge builder, and he was having a competition with the builder of the cathedral. And from this point, you see him looking out? He was looking over at the construction of that cathedral. He was losing the competition, but he made a pact with the devil, according to the story, and that pact was that he was going to give the souls of the first 3 people who crossed the bridge. Walk over the stone bridge, you will undoubtedly see an island in the middle of the Danube, and you'll see another side of Regensburg you don't expect to see. Stadtamhof doesn't look like the rest of this photogenic city, but is still a significant part of the history in Regensburg. Its architecture is more focused on functionality, with artisans and river workers calling this home. Walk around this city and make sure to look up and see this impressive mural. It's of David and Goliath and was installed in the 16th century. It's painted on the historic Goliath House that was built in 1260. The name is not from the Bible story, however, but because of the traveling theology students that stayed on the grounds here. Back then, those theology students were called Goliards. Meandering through the old town, it's easy to forget that years ago, most of this area was a Roman fortress. Now, it's kind of neat. You can see that the new Regensburg was built on top of the old camp. Back when Regensburg was a Roman legion camp, we're talking 2,000 years ago, there was a wall that surrounded the area. And it seems they're trying to preserve it, so they put it in this indoor area. There's a museum attached, but you can see the wall for free. And here is part of it now. It was 2 kilometers long back then and had 4 gates. Lucky for us, some of those gates still exist today. Let's go back above ground to see one of those gates. The Porta Praetoria dates back to 179 AD and was once the northern gate of the Roman camp. And back during the Roman era, it was 20 meters high. Now, it's a mere 11 meters. The Regensburg Cathedral, also known as St. Peter's Cathedral, was completed in 1520 after more than 2 centuries of construction. But for more than 350 years, there were no towers. The cathedral just had 2 stumps because they ran out of money. But a couple of Bavarian kings invested the money, and by 1872, the towers were put up, and now construction was truly finally completed. Let's go check inside. Inside the cathedral, you see the world's largest hanging organ. It's 37 tons, has more than 5,800 pipes, and is held up by just 4 steel cables. While the cathedral certainly has an impressive interior, check out St. Emmeram's Abbey. Its exterior isn't as impressive as the cathedral, but the inside and its history is significant. This dates back to 739 AD and is the final resting place of an emperor and St. Emmeram, a martyr who died in Regensburg. What's behind me is the Old Town Hall. It was finished up in 1320, but in 1663, the Perpetual Diet was held here. Diet is not what we think of diet now. Diet is a legislative body, and it was in session for almost 150 years. No recess. Can you imagine that? And that Diet is considered the predecessor to the German Parliament, the EU, European Union, and the United Nations. Being in Germany, there are remnants of the Nazis' presence here. This building was used as a subcamp for the nearby Flossenburg concentration camp during the latter part of World War II. Subcamps were often used as detention centers for prisoners who were forced to work for various Nazi war industries. We didn't have time to dig into the history of the Jewish community here, but this monument stands as a reminder of their 1,000-year-long presence here since 981. There is so much to see here in Regensburg, no matter what time of year. But know that if you come, like, say, in the wintertime, it might be hard to snag one of those short Danube River sightseeing cruises. But it's still worth a visit. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Mary Goes Round the World. Here's my tip of the week. If you're traveling with 2 people or more, make sure you buy a Bayern ticket if you are traveling within Bavaria. So we went from Munich to Regensburg, bought the tickets at the same time. 2 tickets, first person's one price. Any additional people are another fee, but it's a fraction of the original price. So you save money when you buy the tickets at the same time and you have more than one person traveling. That's your tip of the week.